In this video, we're going to make our player slightly more interesting by making it animate as it walks. It's called a walk cycle. We're also going to have an animation for idle and also one for jump. So let's head on over to the player scene, double click on this. So we've got everything set up. Now we just need to change this sprite. We're going to change it to an animated sprite, okay? So where it says body. Now for our code example, do make sure that you've called it body with an uppercase B, or the code that I'm about to use won't work for you. So if we right click on the body, there is a button here that says change type. So we're going to change the type to an animated sprite. So let's just click on this and let's just start typing animated. And then hopefully we should see it here. Now there's obviously a 3D version, but it's a 2D version that we want. So double click on this and it's changed here. We get this warning sign that says it hasn't got any frames. So we need to come over to here and we need to kind of add all of our sprite images and our animations. So where it says frames empty, let's click on this down arrow and click on new sprite frames. Now you have a default one here, but if we go in, we can create our own. Okay, so let's just click on this button here and it brings up the animated sprite. Now I'm just going to change this to idle rather than default, just so it makes a bit more sense. Okay, and then click away. So this is going to be our idle animation. Now in the last videos, I did already import these images. So if you go into images and then you go down to player, hopefully you should already have all of your images ready to go. In the deluxe pack there are loads more that you can use if you want to make your animation slightly more interesting. Now the one I'm going to use for idle is probably something like this one here, walk cycle 10. So I'm just going to click on this and I'm going to drag it into the walk. Now you can have loads more. If you want to have it bobbing up while it does nothing, you can, but I'm just going to have one idle here. So when it's idle it just does nothing. Okay, I'm going to change the speed to 10 frames per second. Through experience it just looks a little bit better. Now the next one we're going to add another one, so we're going to add one for run. Okay, so double click and just say run, and I've just left mine lowercase r. So now let's add a walk cycle. So I'm going to have walk 1, walk 2, and just keep dragging in as many as you want. I'm probably just going to have about 7, but if you want to use all 10 you're more than welcome to. The more you have, and make sure they go in order as well, the more you have, the cleaner the walk cycle will look. I have found that 7 kind of brings it quite nicely back to the beginning, and we can test this. So if we just bring this up here, make him a bit bigger. Now we're on the run cycle at the moment. If we just press play, you should see what it's going to look like. Okay, and I'm happy enough with that, so I'm just going to turn play off and I'm just going to change this to 10 just so it's a little bit faster. Just click away from it so it does that. Now let's just press it again, see how fast it is this time. So now it's a bit faster than 5, but it's up to you which one you press there. So let's just do our final one, which is a jump. So I'm just going to click on this plus button, I'm going to rename it, I'm just going to call it jump, all lowercase. And then the one I'm going to have is this top one here. And once again, if you want to add more images to this, you absolutely can. That's absolutely fine. I don't need to change the speed here, but just so it's consistent, I will change the speed, and that's all done. Okay, so that's pretty much our animation setup. In order for our player to show the animations, we do need to do a little bit of coding. So first off, let's just make sure that the animation starts in idle mode. Okay, this is the one we want it to start in, and then we'll move through as we feel fit. So let's just lower this one down. Let's save our scenes, save all scenes. I'm just going to open up level 1 just to make sure that this idle mode actually works. Let's just open up level 1. Let's just zoom into this and just press this play button. Make sure we're good so far. So you've got this idle mode here, that's good. So now we just need to code it. So what we need to do now is go back to the player scene and click on the script, and we're just going to add just a few layers of code. Now, when we're going right, the actual animation is absolutely fine, but when we're going left, we do need it to flip and go the other way. Now if we look inside the body here, there is actually a flip button. If I just make this a bit bigger, you should be able to see this. So if I turn on flip H, it turns left and turns right. If I turn flip V, it goes upside down. So it's the flip H that we want to make it go left or right. So I can actually grab this and actually code that one as well. So that's good. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this flip H. So back to my player, click on the script, and let's just do that. So when we're going right, we don't need to flip, but we do need to tell it not to flip. Otherwise, it will be pointing odd directions sometimes. So let's open up on line 16 another line of code just by pressing enter. Now we need to go into this body tag. Now this is, if you've called yours body with a capital B, yours will be exactly the same as mine. So I'm going to say $, and then capital B for body, and it comes up. So let's just double click on this, and then you want to say dot flip underscore H, and that allows you to access that button. Now you just need to say, is it ticked or not ticked? So for the right direction, we want it to not be ticked. So we're just going to say false. And false is the same as saying not ticked, okay? Now let's do the same for left, but this time, so I'm just going to copy this, Control C, but this time, after speed, we want to say true. So we want it to be ticked at this point, okay? So true. Let's save that and just see if that works. So save all scenes, go back to level 1, click on the play button. Now hopefully when I go that way, you see it just changes its face, so it flips over, and that's exactly what we want. The animation isn't running yet, but we're not quite there yet. I just want to make sure that when we go the right direction, it actually changes direction with it. So let's go back to our player, let's click on the scene, and let's add some more code. So the next bit, we need to tell it which cycle to run, or which animation to run. So let's go back up to here, and the same code again, $body, and then dot play. So we want it to say, look, let's play one of the animations. Oops, type play right. So we need a bracket, we need these, and we need to tell it which one. So I called mine run. So if I just start typing run, it should be that one, and mine was a lowercase. Let's do the same for the left as well. So copy that, Control C, Control V. We don't need to change direction or anything like that, so that's the same there. Now we can also code this bit here to say idle. So if we could just Control V here as well, but rather than saying run, we want the idle. Or idle. And if you're not sure about what you called yours, just go back in, and it tells you here, like idle, jump, run. Okay, so there we are, we have those ones, and let's just check that. So let's save all scenes, and let's run it again. Oh, I do need to be on level 1. So when we go to the right, we now have that run cycle. When we go to the left, it now faces that way. We jump, it hasn't quite got a jump one yet, so we're going to set that up in just a second. Okay, but when we're idle, it does nothing. So we're almost there. We just need to set the jump one up. Now the jump one is ever so slightly different. So let's go back to that script. Now the jump one is down here, but in order for it to take action, we actually need to add an else statement. So if we press enter and then press backspace twice, we need it to be in line with this first one. So if the floor is not included, you can do this animation. So we're just going to say else, and then colon, and then another line. I'm just going to paste that line of code again, so body.play, and this time we're just going to say jump. Okay, and I think that brings us to the end of that. But let's just save all scenes, and let's just go back to our level 1. Make sure it's on our level 1. Press play. And all being well, we can go left, we can go right, and we can jump. Woo! Okay, and let's just make sure when we jump it's pointing in the right direction, and all is good. So let me just go back to that code just so we can leave, so you can actually see that last bit of code that we wrote. So if we're on the player, click on the script, and that's pretty much all the code. So we've got these 2 lines of code that do the running for the right, these 2 lines of code that do the running for the left, this 1 line of code that does the idle position animation, and then these 2 lines of code that add the animation to the jump.